Iran called his bluff, and Trump's going all in. Let's talk about high stakes poker on the weekend update. Okay, friends, Trump is going all in. Let's talk about it. Here's what you need to know. First up, Trump turns up the intensity on the Iranian conflict. So let's look at the market first, and then we'll do the geopolitical stuff. It's kind of amazing. We started this channel, and we would talk about finance topics like, I don't know, profit margins, marketing plans, normal financial stuff. And now the state of the world and where we are, what do we talk about all day, every day? We talk about naval blockades and the Strait of Hormuz and ballistic missiles. That's got to be a sign of the times. But anyway, here you go. Here's the S&P 500. Red is the same way we've always been looking at it. Orange is the 50-day moving average. Purple is the 200-day. And what do you notice? Well, it came right on schedule. We have released on our 50-day, and we are in watch mode for a test on our 200-day moving average. But as bad as that is, of course, we want the stock market to go up every day. Actually, a lot of really good positive developments have been happening here. First up, this 200-day moving average has been moving higher. One of the things that I mentioned was good about all this sideways consolidation we had is it was going to bring the support of the 200-day up to meet us. 200-day is now around 660. The S&P 500 as of right now is around 665, at least on SPY. So what does that mean? It means we're pretty close. We're within bounce watch of, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 sessions from now. So this will be our first, true test of the 200-day moving average, our true test of, of the uptrend, of all the stuff that's going on. And clearly, not great stuff is coming out of Iran right now, and certainly that's weighing in on the market, and it's a lot more than just the war, as we'll get into here. But there's some high-stakes poker being played. The market is reacting to it by consolidating, coming down. I think we've got a 200-day moving average test ahead of us. Let's talk about the war here for a second. Here's Strait of Hormuz, critical location. I did update this chart from last time we looked at it, maybe about 2 weeks ago. Nothing's changed, still closed. So at this point, I'm going to take a victory lap on a couple things. First thing was Prosperity Guardian. If you remember during the 30-minute geopolitical talk that we gave, one of the things I talked about was these critical waterways can be closed and the full might of the U.S. military may not be enough to reopen them. I'm going to go ahead and give that a checkbox. I think that was the correct analysis. We were testing the theory that, well, maybe we just, didn't want it enough to reopen the Bab el-Mandeb Strait and, put traffic through the Suez Canal. We certainly want the Strait of Hormuz to open. That is critically important. The Strait of Hormuz has been closed for, 2 weeks now? We have about 2 more weeks before really bad stuff starts to happen to the economy globally, to our allies, to our military readiness. We are throwing everything we have at this problem to try and open it. That's one of the reasons why Trump is going all in. Up until this point, the strait is still closed. There is some thought that maybe it's, an insurance-generated closing of the Strait of Hormuz, that, you can't get insurance to move these ships through, so commerce can't happen, and that if these ships would just kind of go through the Strait of Hormuz, they would realize it's safer than it appears. I don't think that's correct. I think Iran has been very strategic in basically striking every ship that comes through the Strait of Hormuz. So yes, the insurance is the reason why all these ships are clustered up and can't get through, but the insurance is being rescinded for a reason, and that reason is Iran attacks any ship that tries to make it through the Strait of Hormuz. How do we solve this? I don't know, but Donald Trump has a plan. Let's talk about it. He is going all in. This is it. We are winding up to throw the haymaker. We're going to go throw everything we've got at this problem. The Strait of Hormuz is either going to open or it's not. And yeah, it's going to be pretty challenging. So first up, I've got some war developments around the Truth Social post here. I'll tell you about them. So South Korea, basically the U.S. has moved its THAAD, its high altitude interceptor batteries, out of South Korea. Those are moving to the Middle East. So what is happening is we are removing capabilities, we are removing safety from the Asian theater and moving it towards the Middle East to try and solve this Iranian issue. this is a victory for China. We're just sort of like abandoning the Asian theater because we stepped into the bear trap here in the Middle East. Really bad for projecting American power. Positive for China, and really a symbol for how intense this conflict actually is and how serious we're taking it. U.S. warships are moving, carrying Marines. It is expected that we will have a ground troops landing on Karg Island. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a second. As of right now, I think only around 33% of Americans support the war. It's one of the most unpopular wars, especially this early on in the conflict in American history. Only about 16% of Americans support landing troops in Iran. And I think that's probably what we're going to get here, because I don't know how you reopen the strait any other way. As a further provocation, Donald Trump has been bombing Karg Island, which is, basically the entire Iranian oil infrastructure. And Iran, for its part, has been responding by bombing Middle East, Gulf allies, oil infrastructure as well. Donald Trump put out this Truth Social. This was yesterday, basically saying, he's saying, you know what, America doesn't need any help. We're going to go and reopen the Strait of Hormuz on our own. This is a very interesting Truth Social post to me. And I think it's very clear that he went around to our allies to try and build a very large coalition of the willing. And I think the Europeans wisely mostly said, yeah, we're not touching any of this because this looks like a debacle. And in a way, I think it is. My take, as I've been looking at what's been happening, I think our warfighters have done excellent. Our warfighters do really well. Trump, the decision to actually go resides with Trump, and I didn't see those, intelligence briefings, so I don't know, what he was seeing and why he said we had to go, and we had to go when we did. So I can't knock the top. That's Trump and the intelligence briefings, which I haven't seen. I'm certainly not going to knock our warfighters because they're doing their best. It's everyone else in the middle that's been failing us. It's the war planners. It's the strategic component. This operation looked half-baked from the start. We clearly didn't understand Iran's capabilities. And it's the logistics side. The military-industrial complex, the defense-industrial base is also failing us here. That's part of the reason why we have to pull out of other theaters just to supply the Middle East. We're in some trouble here. I don't like what I see coming out of the war, and I hope we can, once again, I think this resolves with diplomatic off-ramp and a diplomatic off-ramp, and I hope we're doing that. I hope we are not killing the people that we are trying to negotiate with to end these conflicts, because I don't know if we can just force it open. But anyway, so there's the war side. The war side is Trump is going all in. Here's the reason why he's going all in. Let's talk about PPI and oil. So let's do PPI first. That came out this morning, came out red hot. This is the Producer's Price Index. So this gives us an idea of where inflation is going to go. 0.7 month over month. That's over double the expectation of what was 0.3. Core came in at 0.5, expectation was 0.3, so PPI is coming in hot everywhere, so we're going to see another inflation spike here. 3.4% year over year, the expectation was only 3%. Core coming in at 3.9 versus expectations of 3.7. We're going to be back to a world of 4+% inflation, and the reason why is what's happening with oil. Here's crude oil for the last year. You can see, before we started adventures in the Middle East, we were below $60 a barrel. Immediately, as the market started to price in the war with Iran, it took us up to $70, $80, $85 a barrel, give or take. And then as the market has realized that there is a debacle that is unfolding right now in the Middle East, the market realized that wasn't enough price. There wasn't enough risk put into a price of a barrel of oil. And we briefly tapped over 100. We're floating at 100 right now. What this means, though, is this is a spike back to, COVID inflationary peaks. We have only been over triple digits at very rare times in American history, and certainly not since the fracking boom. So this tells you that something very serious is happening here. This affects things like nat gas. So you can see nat gas moving higher. You can see gasoline. This is wholesale gasoline moving higher. Wholesale gasoline, if we just take this reading where it is right now at 311, you have to add in marketing fees, expenses, taxes, etc., to get to retail gas prices. But this is anticipating $4.25, $4.30 a gallon national average in about 4 weeks or so. And if you look at gas prices, if you look at where they are, regular is at 385 right now. A month ago was 292. So gas prices have risen $1 in a month, and a year ago is they've risen $1 from where they were a year ago. More important than that, though, is diesel. This is what's impacting the economy. This is what's going to impact data center build out, housing, large manufacturing, everything. Diesel has gone from $3.60 to over $5, and these things haven't finished rising. This trend can reverse at any time, but it's not going to reverse until the Strait of Hormuz reopens. And at least as of right now, the Strait of Hormuz is quite convincingly closed, and I don't think it opens without boots on the ground. So I think that's where we're going. And even with putting boots on the ground, that is a very risky gambit. So Trump is going all in here. What does it all mean? Key takeaways: with the situation not resolving, Trump is going all in on Iran. I hope and pray that there is a diplomatic off-ramp. I am still not seeing signs of that. They are talking really tough towards each other, and usually that's how deals come about. But as I look at the strategic assets, we can see more carriers being placed. We can see, missile installations moving. We can see the Marines on the way over there. It doesn't seem like we're getting anywhere with talk. And that is, I think this is going to be, a pretty tough thing. Already the impacts are being felt economically from the Strait of Hormuz being shut. We had 4 weeks on the clock when the Strait of Hormuz shut before really bad things start to happen. 2 of those weeks have expired. So the reason why Trump is going to push the issue here is because he has to push the issue because we're running out of time. Here's what I'll say. I'll kind of connect it to the midterm here for a second. Starting an unpopular new war, spiking gas prices, damaging the economy. It's believed that every 10 cents above $4 a gallon in gas reduces economic activity by something like 10 basis points on GDP. And generating casualties, we have American casualties in the Iranian war. It's quite a midterm gambit, I would say. And finally, Iran presents a true test of Trump's ability to both get into and out of jams. I would say the situation, I'm being charitable here, is a jam right now. Trump is absolutely in a jam. But he has really good history of getting out of jams, and that's what we need right now. And so I hope he gets out of this jam. One thing I will say, though, all right, so let's say he stays in the jam. If he stays in the jam, we'll have a test around the 200-day. Our portfolios are still defensive. We still have all our energy. Like, we're doing fine. We're gonna sail through this span of time. But I'll give you another one of my theories here. Like my prosperity guardian theory, I think that was correct. The theory about Venezuela, that air parade over Venezuela was a negotiated settlement thing. I think as we see the intense conflict that's happening over Iran, I think that was true. It is seen as true now as well, that Venezuela was a completely different animal, probably a diplomatic animal. But here's what I'll tell you. All of these things conventionally is kryptonite to do in a midterm year. Do not start unpopular new wars. Do not spike gas prices. Do not damage the economy. Don't kill American service people, right? That's like a very basic sort of, setup if you want to have success in an election year. Here's one thing I will say, though, and this is my prediction. My prediction is it's not going to impact the midterms at all. What I believe about the American electorate, and we will see how true this is when we get to the midterms, but I believe that everybody has already decided that America is 40% that goes one side, 40% that goes the other, and 20% in the middle that kind of break whichever way they break for all sorts of reasons. But I don't think anyone's going to change teams at this point. We are far too polarized for these things to matter. So if you like Trump, you're going to keep liking Trump. If Iran is a tremendous debacle, you're going to like Trump. It doesn't matter that it becomes a debacle. You'll still like him. If you don't like Trump, you don't like him. And if we pull an amazing win out of Iran, if we defy the odds, you're still not going to like him. That's just the way we are. So in terms of the economy and what I think, well, I think we've used up some of our shot clock. I think Trump is going to go all in. He's going to hit it with everything he's got. I don't think that's the right tool for this. I think diplomacy is actually the right tool. So I hope some of that is happening behind the scenes. There you go. I'll see you next week for the news review. Sorry, these are so frantic. I don't want to be doing this. I want to be doing, sales margins, profit margins, all the rest of that. But this is, a true situation with global impact. So there you go. I'll see you next week. Okay, friends, that was the video. Hope you liked it. If you found it informative, good, entertaining, I'd love if you could scroll down here beneath the video and give me a like there. It helps us out with the algorithm. And then if you want to be notified first of anything new that we upload to the channel, if you come over here, click subscribe, you'll be the first to know as soon as we upload anything. Appreciate it. See you soon.